Today I'm doing a scouting run to check out the trail up to Bradshaw'S Grave. The trailhead starts right where Bighorn Road comes into Castle Creek. From there you follow the wash up about 4 or 5 miles and then you take a trail up into the Bradshaw Mountains. With the recent rains coming down through these washes, the rocks were all over the place and you really had to pick your line. The gravesite that we're going to is for Isaac Bradshaw, who is the older brother of William Bradshaw, who the mountains are actually named after. Isaac was born in 1819 in North Carolina, and William was born some years later in 1826 in Tennessee. A few years later, the family migrated to California, where William, at the age of 20, became a ranger out at a Mexican post there. William in those days was a giant of a man, very polished, referred to as a true gentleman, but also referred to as a lunatic because of his fleetness of foot and unbelievable endurance in some of the things he had tried. I'm going to pause the history story for just a second as we thread the needle through these huge boulders that are right in the middle of the wash. I'm going to pull up here a little bit and let you see the other guys come through. It is just unbelievable how beautiful it was down in that canyon. This was also the only place that we found water on the whole trail. There you see James coming around the outside of them. But here you see Catherine threading right through the middle of them. And shortly thereafter, you'll see Ricky coming through there and taking the same line. It was at this point on the run where I was trying to get some photos of everything and
this is after they doctored
did a little
me
flip-flop right in the middle of the wash here.
I was trying to do a somersault down here in these rocks. Got a pretty good bruise on my arm there.
Once I got doctored up, it was time to really enjoy the canyon and take some snapshots. Right there in the left center of the video is a tower of rocks going up 75 to 100 feet. Just couldn't get over how green it was down in that canyon. It was just unbelievable. And of course, we had to take some group photos. We had to show Charlie Brown and Snoopy a little love. Well, it was time to get back on the road. We needed to get on through this canyon and get on up here and get on the trail up to the gravesite. Well, back to my story about the Bradshaws. Later on in life, William became friends with an Indian chief and an Indian postal rider who showed him a trail across the mountains and the desert from San Bernardino all the way over to Blythe, California on the Colorado River. The true value of the trail was that it cut off several days for the trip, which used to go down all the way down to Yuma and then up to Colorado. But it also had water every 30 to 35 miles across the trail they showed him. This trail would later become known as the Bradshaw Trail and would be used by the gold miners and silver seekers headed toward California's gold fields and into the mountains of Arizona. In 1864, Isaac and William partnered up along with another gentleman and secured the ferry rights across the Colorado River between California and Arizona from the territorial government at that time in Arizona. Just wanted to get some pictures of the tadpoles in the water there.
Oh yeah, they're moving. Bunch of little hearts.
Prior to them securing the ferry rights, William had already lit out for the mountains in Arizona, leaving Isaac to run the ferry. William found gold there and established Bradshaw City and also had the mountains named after him. The only thing to do back in those days at those mining camps was to work gamble, drink, and befriend the women that had been brought in to service them. In 1864, William headed back to California to dry out as he'd become an alcoholic. William started to hallucinate going through the drying out process, and on December 2nd, 1864, he committed suicide. He was 38 years old. In 1867, based on the story that William had told Isaac, Isaac sold the ferry service and headed to the mountains in Arizona with himself having the gold fever. Isaac didn't have near the success that William had, although Isaac stayed here until 1885, where at that point in time he died of pneumonia at his claim site. Based on the articles you read, there's a real discrepancy between the date and the year that Isaac died. He was either 66 years old or 67 years old when he died, because some state he died in 1885, others state he died in 1886. Some say that he died on December 24th, others say he died on Christmas Day of that year. Isaac's gravesite is well maintained by a historical group in the area. Well, now you know the story about the two brothers, William and Isaac Bradshaw, and the Bradshaw Mountains. Well, now it's time to get back on the trail, which will take us over to Constellation Road.
Climbing, twisting, turning further from my home. Young, like a new moon rising, fierce through the rain and lightning, wandering out into this great unknown. And I don't want no one to cry, but tell them if I don't survive, I was born free. I was born free. I was born free. Born free. Free like a river raging strong is the wind I'm facing, chasing dreams and racing Father Time. Deep like the grandest canyon, wild like an untamed stallion. If you can't see my heart, you must be blind. You can knock me down and watch me bleed, but you can't keep no chains on me. I was born free. I was born free. I was born free. Born free. And I'm not good at long goodbyes, but look down deep into my eyes. I was born free. Calm, facing danger, lost like an unknown stranger, grateful for my time with no regrets. Close to my destination, tired
As I stated at the beginning of this video, the trail conditions were not the best. With all the recent rain and so forth, lots of rock were moved around, ruts were created in the road, little steps were formed here and there, and probably the trail out was rougher than the trail in, actually. With all the obstacles, I was really satisfied with my Rubicon because it was the only vehicle on the run that was stock. The other vehicles were all lifted. It really reminded me of the day of when I had the Renegade and you really had to pick your line. And I have to say, this was one of the more enjoyable trips I'd been on because it was a lot of fun driving it and picking the lines and getting over all the different obstacles. I was able to do that and I didn't drag once. Well, as I look down off to the right there, I can see Constellation Road down there at the bottom. As we hit Constellation Road and start going by all the mines along that road, Monte Cristo and so forth, headed to Wickenburg for the air up. All in all, it had been a fun day taking the trip back through history. And all in all, I couldn't have picked a better group to run that trail with. And as always, it truly had been just another wonderful day in Arizona.